DJ PK. No PK. To my right is not Patrick Kinnan. He's vacationing. It's summertime. Instead, it's Ben Anderson coming in early. Thank you, Ben.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First, Federal Credit Union, and Beehive Meals.
There it is. He comes in, delivers a read. You're the man, Ben. Way to go.
Hey, David.
Look at you. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for waiting for me.
No worries. We were a little late anyway, so it all works out. All right. Question for you. Wanted to have you in here and pick your brain. You're at a lot of Jazz games. Focused on them. I mean, for your radio show, you follow everything.
Yeah.
But for the main gig, writing for the old .comer, you're locked in on the Jazz. Creating content on a regular basis. Well, it's a mix. It's a mix of stuff that's more pop culture-ish, entertainment, but occasionally there's the deep dive. And I like some of your questions, like with Will, I'm like, okay, he's been thinking about this. That's not a question just popped into his head now. He was mulling this over at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Nothing else going on in the brain.
Yeah, I know, right? I know the feeling. So I'm curious, your biggest takeaway, and I'm sure you get asked stuff, friends and family and all that, but you watch all these young guys, the rookies, but, they're saying your guys in that too. You watch all these young guys. What's your biggest takeaway from watching them play here in the summer?
I'm going to be underwhelming and say it's that Isaiah Collier can't shoot.
Okay.
And I say that because I think it is the most impactful. Based on last year, Isaiah Collier had, quote unquote, won the starting job. He was the Jazz's starting point guard to end the season. His entire ability to be on the floor for starters' minutes is going to be dependent on his ability to shoot the ball. And not only is he not shooting it well from the three-point line, he's not shooting it well from the floor, and he's not even making his free throws. It's just a real lack of indicators that the touch is there. And
it's not going to get better. You're giving up hope. You're letting go of the rope.
You would hope that maybe first year, a little rough, second year you come back, and there's just enough of the things that where the ball doesn't go in that it's not bad stretch. You can have a bad shooting stretch. You can have a bad summer league and still see some of the signs that, other things are there. And I do think the other things are there with Isaiah. He's a good playmaker. His speed's good. I like his toughness. But if
all
he doesn't...
things that can keep you in the league, but it's going to keep you in the league in a
backup role.
Smaller role.
Yeah. Because if you can't shoot, it just makes you really hard to play with Walker Kessler specifically. Because Walker doesn't shoot. And, you and I watch the Jazz in the 80s and 90s. You've watched the NBA 80s and 90s. How many shooters did the Lakers in the 80s have on the floor? Like, shooters. Kareem didn't shoot. Magic didn't shoot.
Well, it was a different era.
Yeah, but right.
I mean, they weren't required to shoot threes.
Right.
The floor was spaced differently. Teams defended differently. The players weren't as big.
Right.
You demand more space now because the players are, A, so tall, and B, people underappreciate this, they're so long. So when you stick out your arms sideways, your ability to deflect a pass without moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're taking away passing lanes, and players weren't that big then. A team would start a 6-foot point guard and a 6'2" shooting guard and maybe a 6'5" small forward. That line now would be laughed off the floor. It is so small.
The Jazz in the 80s had Darryl Griffith. He was their shooter. Mm-hmm. And in the 90s, it was Jeff Malone, and then Hornacek comes in. And John was always a very good shooter. But you had shooting because you had two players on the floor. And there was a handful of good shooters in the NBA, period. Yeah. And then, you started to need to get a little bit more. And now, to the point where you probably have to have at least 4 good shooters on the floor at all times.
I can tell you the first time I saw 4 out and 1 in, and it worked. And it was stunning. And people were like, why is Karl Malone struggling? Why isn't he rebounding? I'm like, because he has to defend Robert Horry. And Robert Horry is 25 feet from the hoop.
Yeah.
But if you don't get out there and get a hand up,
are you talking Rockets Robert Horry?
I am. Mid-90s.
Yeah.
That was it. They played Akeem inside, and they had 4 guys. And up until that point, and we've had a few times, and this goes to how the Jazz need to build this team. Up until that time, there'd been 2-3 stars, right? Mm. I mean, the Lakers, the Celtics, into the Pistons, who were a little shorter on star power, into the Bulls, and all of a sudden, here comes Hakeem. And it's Hakeem and 4 guys on the three-point line. And there were some nice players.
Horry,
Kenny Smith.
Kenny Smith.
Kenny the Jet Smith was on that team. Marielli was on the team. Yeah. These are all nice players, right? But when you're talking Batman and Robin, no. They're not a superhero. Good players. Great careers and all that, but they're not Pippen. They were really excited to get Pippen. That never paid off for them.
Right.
So that was the start of a trend. And we've seen it since. The Mavericks with Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah,
he didn't win with a Robin, right?
Right.
So it can happen. Toronto, was Pascal Siakam Robin to Kawhi Leonard's Batman? You could do it now. And maybe that's how the Jazz need to build going forward. I still think you probably need Batman and Robin. You probably need the second banana, whatever the expression is. But you can do it without him.
So if Walker's not going to shoot, and I'm not a big-time believer in Walker's ability to step out and shoot threes, even though he's trying, and Collier can't shoot.
You following him next to Derek Favors?
Sure. Yeah. Favors tried.
Another big man tried to get him to shoot.
Tried some corner threes.
Hey, that went in. Okay, well, he shoots 22%, so they're going to go in once in a while.
Yeah. Right.
Let's not get too excited about one or two.
So you probably can't play Isaiah and Walker together a whole lot.
Right. So if Walker's going to play 33 minutes, Collier's at 15 max.
Yeah, right.
If you're going to be really good.
Yeah. And you look at the Jazz's rotation next year, and Yusuf Nurkic can space the floor a little bit off the bench. Actually, he can do that both with his passing and his shooting.
So.
And Taylor Hendricks is going to be able to space the floor. Well, again, you're just talking about how do you build lineups? Yeah. How do you build lineups that actually make sense for these guys to learn something that will resemble what they are going to be in the NBA? And you can put four other shooters on the floor in the second unit next to Isaiah Collier. And I don't know if you can
I see
put
what you're saying.
lineup.
Yeah.
So Nurkic,
and
Taylor
you can also
Hendricks,
just put out a bad lineup.
Cody Williams, whatever.
You may have to run some lineups out there where you don't have two shooters, and it's going to be hard. And he's going to have to use his other skills.
And then that means that you probably either got Walt Clayton or Keontae George starting at point guard. And I do think that matters because that's the exposure that Austin Ainge is going to get to the team. It's when he walks in the door, day one, he's there already, but what does that starting lineup look like and who's playing? And, I've heard that a lot of the decision to move Colin Sexton was about Keontae George, was to empower Keontae because they really like what he's done this summer, apparently. So I haven't seen it because he hasn't played. So, but that's what I've heard. So we'll see. I'm really curious.
He needs to take a big step forward.
He does. This is his make or break here.
I think that we're all talking about Cody Williams needs to take a big step forward. And I feel like he's taken a step forward. Not sure I'd categorize it as a big step.
No.
It's but it's a marathon. So, you've only run 2 miles. Well, if you're going to run a marathon, you have to run 2 miles. We'll judge the third mile when we run the third mile.
Yeah.
Can't judge that yet. And so with Keontae, it's another year down the road, and it hasn't been good enough.
It has not.
Shot selection has to change.
And
but I also think attitude and competitiveness has to change. Right, but one thing that makes you a better shooter, this guy's a 40% shooter. How's he going to get to 45%? Well, he shoots 4 of 10. And one time a game, he probably takes 2 or 3 bad shots. And once a game, you have to stifle the urge to take the bad shot.
Yeah.
Because if you're 4 of 9 instead of 4 of 10, you're a 44% shooter, and people look at you differently.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as it is about is his elbow out and blah, 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 does he bend his knees, all the little fundamentals you learn in camp, it's about once a game, guess what? You're not open past the ball.
Yep. And you know when. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
And that's the ability to read the game.
Deep down, I think you do.
You would hope so. Some guys don't, and they don't make it.
Yep.
But I think that's where, that's why I honestly would think it's going to be Walt Clayton or Keontae battling for that starting spot. If you think Ace Bailey's going to start, I don't know if you start 2 of the new rookies day one. I think that can be hard on teams. Mm-hmm. So maybe you go with Keontae and Ace Bailey. I
don't really worry about who starts. I realize the coach has to. Mm-hmm. But as far as development, tell me about the minutes and tell me about the FGAs. Because if you get the minutes but you don't get the shots because you're standing in the corner and they don't leave you, I just don't know how much you're learning from that's going to apply 3, 4, 5 years down the line when hopefully they're a lot better than this.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about a long rebuild. I'm like, well, sure, but the Pacers and the Thunder were both in the lottery 3 years in a row, mm-hmm. and then years 4 and 5, they get to 5 and they're both in the finals playing each other.
Yep.
How long a rebuild does it have to be?
Right.
Well, apparently longer.
For the Jazz longer.
How much longer? I don't know.
And the other part about this with Isaiah Collier, not to beat a dead horse, but he's not big. He's listed at 6'5", he's 6'2", mm-hmm. as is Keontae George. Walt Clayton's the tallest of all of them. He might be 6'3". So as you just said about the 80s Lakers or the 80s basketball, you could play a 6'2" point guard and a 6'3" shooting guard and a 6'5" small forward.
Yeah.
Well, You can't anymore. So you probably can't play Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, and Walt Clayton in the rotation. You can probably, long term, you can probably only play 2 of them, and they've got to be your point guards, which is why the Jazz have been trying to make Keontae George a point guard for a long time.
But that's not going to work.
I think you've got to get rid of one of them.
Well,
And so that's what you got to figure out.
Austin just got here. Well, what I do like about that is Sexton's not on the timeline for the Jazz winning. As long as it's going to take, as much as I can cite Oklahoma City and Indiana and be impatient, and as you can see, I can already do all those things. Congrats to me.
Right.
So I get why they move on from Sexton. And because of the way the second apron works, the value of a veteran has gone way down. It's there's too many teams up against it, and they don't want to pay the double down on the bonus luxury tax. It's just too much money, even for these multi-billionaires. So what you have to do in this rebuild is they draft 3 guys every year. You got to make sure you don't have your Clipper SGA moment. Some guy who hasn't been used right, who hasn't quite figured it out, who's young, and you give him up. Now, in the Clippers' defense, they were making what they thought was a big trade, and they knew they had to give up some talent. You weren't in a place to leverage Paul George for nothing, right? But let's be honest. They blew it in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the worst trades
Clippers going to clip.
in history,
Yeah, and they did it again. Good for you guys. Excellent. Well, in the Jazz rebuild, as much as you want to draft the right guys, you have to make sure you give them time to develop. So even if I don't think Keontae is going to develop into what they want him to be, which I don't think he's going to, I get why they move Sexton and why Austin says, we're going to put him in there and we're going to see what it looks like. And if something does click, and if he gets some stuff, which I think instinctually he just lacks because he hasn't been coached at it for 10 years and he hasn't had all those reps, I mean, he starts the offense too late for starters.
Yeah.
Before anything has happened.
Yep.
And I'm sitting up in the booth with Ask Jake and Tim LeCoin, and I'm just like, it's 15 on the clock.
Yeah.
It's 9 on the clock, and you haven't passed the ball one time.
Yeah.
I can go out and defend if you dribble over there and stand and look at a guy. And I'm an old, broken down, never was lousy high school basketball player. But if you just let me stand on the weak side next to my guy and nobody cuts and nobody passes, you and I can defend.
Yeah.
And that he doesn't know that at this point drives me insane.
Yeah. I recognize that, and I think long term that's probably why Walt Clayton's going to be the guy for the Jazz. I believe that. And, long-winded way of getting to this point of Isaiah Collier can't shoot, so they're going to try out Keontae because Keontae has experience, and I think starting both Ace Bailey and Walt Clayton day one puts everyone else at a disadvantage because it is a very steep learning curve in the NBA.
If they invest 30, 40, 50 games to make sure, because if it clicks in for Keontae, then suddenly a lot of things could go right.
Yeah, great.
Right? I don't think it's going to break that way, but if it does, but what they can't do is move Keontae and it clicks in 2 years later. Nobody wants to be on the wrong end of the Chauncey Billups career progression.
Yeah.
There's a guy who bounced around.
Right.
3-4 teams give up on him, and then all of a sudden, wow.
Yeah, Finals MVP.
Yeah. Yeah, in a run, we were just talking NFL about, how you have to get lucky to win a Super Bowl, right? But you can be in an NFC title game 5 years in a row because you're a good organization making good decisions. And it's thrilling for the fans. The dopamine releases we were talking about earlier, excellent. So if they want to spend 30, 40, 50 games on Keontae, making sure it's not clicking in, and Austin wants to make sure, okay, before I move this guy, I can't even blow up and look awesome, wherever in 2 or 3 years. That's fine, especially in the year when the draft is really good and when they'd conveyed the pick if it's not top 8. It's like this is the perfect time to double down on making sure that you see what you think you see. Do you think they're lukewarm on Keontae? Like this is the last chance? Or do you think they really think it's going to work out and they don't have any of the doubt that I clearly have?
I can't imagine there's not doubt. Will Hardy has coached him every game of his career, and Danny Ainge has seen every game of his career.
Okay, but they've also seen a bunch of practices that I haven't seen. They've sat in a bunch of film sessions that I haven't, and they get to hang out and talk with him and know his. We get a very short window that's very structured, right? And so maybe they're like, this guy's doing all the right things. We got to keep investing. It's going to pay off. You can't drive a clutch until you can.
Right. I believe whatever they've seen this summer implies
They think maybe he's learned how to drive the clutch.
maybe some buy-in that maybe they hadn't seen. And Keontae's never been a bad buy-in guy. Like, he's there all summer.
But it doesn't take not bad. It takes very good.
Yeah, it does.
Especially when you're his size.
Yeah.
For all these guys in the league who are trying to make it like 6'4" and smaller, it's a huge ask.
Yeah.
It's a huge ask. You're running around against so many 6'8", 6'10" guys. You ever been in a game with guys who are 4, 5, 6 inches taller than you? It makes the game really hard.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's really hard.
Isaiah Collier, just to put a bow on this, 41% from the floor, 31% from three, which is not completely untenable. It's not there, but it's not so far away.
No, but it needs to be 37 or 38.
It's 43% for the free throw line. Just really bad indicators that the other touches.
Say that again.
43% for the three-point or free throw line.
How many free throws?
4 attempts a game. It's a lot. It means he's making 1 out of 4 a game. I mean, he's making 1.8 out of 4.
43% is making
Just
you're making
under
3
fewer
out
than
of
2.
It's 3 out of every 7.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's really bad.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, more in a moment, more on the Jazz. We'll recap everything you missed in this show. Stay with us.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
You don't need to get an associate AD from Florida State University who's got no ties to the community, but, oh, hey, he raised this much money at Florida State because he's going to come in thinking he's got a Florida State budget. Guess what? We've met a lot of P5 athletic directors, and a lot of them are duds.
Yeah.
They don't need some dude from a big school who's got this crazy resume because he's going to come in and think that he's got to run it like Ohio State, or he's got to run it like Florida State, or he's got to run it like Michigan. But he doesn't have that money, so he doesn't know how to adapt. He doesn't know how to stretch a dollar. He doesn't know how to do all these things because he's just used to throwing money at problems. Well, you can't do that at Utah State.
So you've done that now. It's not working.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
9 a.m. Slacker Radio Headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, or visit the website at TrajanWealth.com. We talked a little Jazz this morning. The Utah Jazz beat the Washington Wizards 86-76. Cody Williams, 23 points in the win. Isaiah Collier added 17. The next time, if they play Friday, that will be the last time in a long time that they're in lineups where they can get 16 and 17 shots and deserve them together at the same time. But that was the lineup.
We'll see who plays. Yeah.
Filipowski also sat now. And all the first-round picks. Ace was sitting again. We going to see anybody tomorrow night? Collier?
Maybe Tanji?
Tanji sat.
Yeah, he sat last night.
But do you think he'll be back? They'll give him one more?
Yeah.
Anybody really impress you? Anybody better than you thought based on what you saw in the Summer League?
I mean, it's hard to know what to pull.
100%. That's why we're asking you to do it. You're an expert at it.
Looking worse is a bigger deal than looking great.
Totally agree with that. When I see someone fail in the Summer League, if you're struggling in the Summer League, I know you can't do it in the NBA.
Yeah.
If you can do it in the Summer League, maybe you can do it when the NBA starts.
So, I mean, what Kyle Filipowski did was unreal.
Yeah.
You know,
I didn't know if I figured you were either going to say Filipowski or Sensabaugh.
I still think he's the leading scorer in Vegas Summer League right now. I know another guy put up 37 last night, but he's averaging 29.3 points per game. Like, he's truly dominating guys. And in a lot of ways, shooting threes, he was getting to the free throw line, he's finishing inside, big dunks, driving from the, like,
awesome dunk.
The stuff is there.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is there. And then my question, I really offended Will Hardy last year when I asked this late in the season. I said, like, when did you decide you were going to really invest in Kyle Filipowski? He's like, well, I invest in everybody. It's like, yeah, kind of. Not really.
Well, you don't play everybody 48 minutes. So while you're invested and you talk to everyone and you practice everyone, you watch everyone's tape, I get that. But still, if you give somebody 12 minutes and somebody 24 and somebody 36 minutes, then most of it say you invested more in the guy who played 36 minutes.
And that was either a pregame or a postgame, but it was probably game 65.
Yeah,
and
but is he really offended, or is he just like dueling with you because he gets bored sometimes? And he knows you're smart.
And maybe it's the right answer. Maybe he's just trying to give the right answer if we give everyone an equal opportunity once they're on the floor. And he probably also does believe that. You know, you love all your kids the same, and you try and make sure they all have long, successful careers. But at the same time, off the record, before the season started, talking to somebody else about Kyle Filipowski was that the shot never went in practice, and that he was going to start the season in the G League. And had Taylor Hendricks not broken his leg, I don't know when we would have seen him. So the broken leg opened up minutes for Flip. Flip capitalized immediately. I remember the game in San Antonio when he played so well. And then he kind of just stuck around and invested more and more. And I am curious about that. When do you know that it's worth investing in this type of prospect. And I don't know. That's a coaching decision. That has to do with practice. That has to do with big-time conversations that you have with the front office.
And it's relative. It depends who else is on the roster. They invested a lot of shots in 2 guys last night. They don't usually do that.
But you said
But it's relative.
field goal attempts. You mentioned that in the last segment. It really matters. Well, look, you can draw up plays to up a guy's field goal opportunities.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do for Flip next year? And that's what I'm curious about. Because when you make him the focal point of an offense in Summer League, even with a bunch of other first-round picks around him, he's still better than everybody else. And he was better at Duke than everybody else. Right. And he was better in high school than everybody else. So do you keep trying to scale? How do you scale up, and can he?
Yeah. The thing that I love that he did that I also know isn't real, which I know that sounds like an oxymoron, but late in that game, the last one he played, not last night, he was DNP last night, he went to the hoop twice, memorably, right? One's on that sideline inbounds play, and he turns around, he's guarded by a smaller guy, mouse in the house. He's 5 of 8 from 3. Well, at that point, he may have been 4 of 70 because he took more. But, he's hot from 3. So if he takes 3, I don't blame him. Mouse in the house, been taking the hoop, gets cut off, spin move, scores, looks good doing it. All right, that passes the eyeball test, and it went in. And then gets an offensive rebound they had to have, gives the ball up, wasn't a big fan of that, but he's a little off balance, understand it. And I'm like, they better give it back to him, which they didn't on 2 other occasions, but this time they did.
Right.
And he just decides, wait, but I'm going to the hoop.
Yeah.
And when he gets halfway to the hoop, he's like, yeah, I can't take any chance with this. I got to throw it down. And he does, and he's flexing. And that's all awesome. But in the NBA, there are going to be so many bigger players between him and the hoop. I don't know that can be replicated. I'm glad he has that mindset, and that when he saw the opportunity, he recognized it and he took it. Those are all positives. But executing that in an NBA regular season game could be trickier. Now, you can argue, hey, maybe it'll be surrounded by better shooters and the floor will be spread, so maybe sometimes it'll be easier. And he did have some strong finishes.
Yeah, he can drive and pass.
This what?
He
What?
can drive
No,
and kick,
everybody
yeah.
wants a 25 or 30-point scorer to hang their hat on. Every Jazz fan will feel better about the rebuild. And it could turn out to be totally wrong because the Warriors had to move Monte Ellis to open up time, and the fans hated it and booed the new owner at midcourt. Now, in retrospect, the new owner is a genius and hired the right people and listened to them. And the old owner is the reason that they were in the playoffs one time in 17 years. But did the fan base get that? No. I'm going to hang my hat on Monte Ellis scoring 30 points. I'm going to feel good about it. Whereas Jerry West was saying, that's not championship basketball. We'll take 1 step back, and we will very quickly take 10 steps forward.
Yeah.
And he was right because he's the logo.
So that's
These lessons, apply them now.
Yeah.
Work with me.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking at with Flip, and I do think I know what Bryce Sensabaugh is, and
What is he?
I just think he's a specialist shooter.
Okay.
And that's not a knock on him.
No.
There's never been a better time to be in the NBA as a specialist shooter.
Yeah, and I could tell you, I could name guys over the last 30 years who've been specialist shooters who are awesome. Like
Yeah.
Eddie Johnson had an awesome career.
Right.
And what did he do? He came in and he put the ball in the bucket from everywhere.
Yeah.
Dale Ellis, same deal. And because he had an awesome nickname and won championships, we can't go very far without saying Vinny the Microwave Johnson. These guys have always existed in the NBA. And you're right. It's just been up now.
Yeah.
You got to have them. And if you don't have them, then you're Phoenix and you're Denver. And then the question, why isn't your bench better?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't identify and develop these guys.
So
That's why.
I don't know if he's going to be a creator. I don't know if he's going to dribble a whole lot. Maybe when a guy attacks a closeout and he can get to the paint a little bit and get to a
I
mid-range
don't
jump
think
shot.
the
but
rules are set up for people who dribble a lot now.
no, it doesn't
you
behoove
watch,
him.
No, you watch. I mean, why has LeBron had the career he's had? Most of the time when you see it, like, he's on the three-point line, and 1 or 2 dribbles later, he's dunking it on everybody. It's not about dribbling a lot.
No, it's not a dribbling league at all. It's a passing league and it's a shooting league, but it's not a dribbling league. I think you're right on about that. And so, yeah, Bryce just become one of the 20 best shooters in the NBA, and you're really important if you are, and I think that's good. Good for him.
You'll always have a gig.
And you fit. The Jazz need that.
Anybody who has star potential or Batman and Robin, we're still waiting. Or Ace Bailey maybe, but it's so early.
It's so
Good
early
grief.
with Ace,
Yeah.
but, I mean, that second game, I have not seen a player physically overwhelm an opponent in a Jazz uniform like that, with the exception of some Rudy Gobert performances just because he was 7-for-1. But certainly nobody on the perimeter have I ever maybe seen a Jazz player overwhelm the opposing team with offensive rebounds and 1 step and a power dribble and a dunk, and just like, oh yeah, this is really helpful.
Maybe Kirilenko on his best nights
On his
early in his
best
career.
nights, yeah.
His best nights early in the career, but he couldn't sustain it. And later in his career, those nights were more rare.
Yeah.
He regressed over time.
So that's still why you drafted him at number 5 overall. It's why he was the kind of consensus number 3 overall player throughout the year. And then whatever the pre-draft stuff hurt him. But, yeah, the star stuff is there with him, for sure.
Also in this show, we had Bob Casper on, host of Real Golf Radio. Did you watch golf before you went to bed last night?
I did
With
not.
The first
I did
round
not tune
starting?
in at 11:35.
It's hard. It keeps going. They golf for like 16 hours.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yep. And go to bed and wake up. And
Wake up,
he's
they're
still playing.
going. I did. I checked the leaderboard before I went to bed, and there's already guys 2 under.
Yeah.
Well, I got to sleep. And I woke up, and they were 4 under.
Yeah.
The Open Championship right now, I don't think anyone's done better than 4 under, have they? I think that's where the we got a 4th player now. Aaron Rye is out at 4 under through 8. Maybe he'll go low. We also had John McMullen on, Philadelphia Eagles insider for Sports Illustrated, ran us through the NFC East, where the story really is ownership. Jerry Jones, he went into in great detail salary cap stuff. Jerry Jones loves the headlines, so he waits to sign guys. But guys get a percentage of the salary cap. In the meantime, the salary cap goes up, and you end up paying them more money. Mm-hmm. And you're just taxing yourself. You're jamming yourself up. He says the Eagles sign everybody early and have no drama, and then they have more money to spend on good players. Did you know the Cowboys have gone to the playoffs and won 5 playoff games since they won their last Super Bowl?
Yeah.
5 playoff wins in 30 years. The Jaguars, recognized as a bad franchise run poorly with only intermittent success, have won 8 playoff games in the same time span. Jerry, what are you doing?
You're not doing a good job.
Making money.
Yeah,
That's
he
what
is.
he's doing.
He is.
He's very good at the showbiz aspect, and he's very good at the finances and the business.
Well, the older you get, the more you realize more money does not mean you're smarter. You do some things well,
Right.
but it doesn't mean you're good at everything. And I think sometimes everyone thinks they're good at everything, right? Everyone thinks they're smart. Everyone thinks they can run the Cowboys.
I know I'm not good at everything.
But a lot of people think
I'm
they
not-
can run a sports team better than
I'm
the people
not good
in charge.
at everything, and that's why you've never seen me dance on TV.
But the problem is,
See?
you've never danced? You don't think you've
Find
ever
the video.
done a little ditty?
Find the video.
The way
And I
PK
know-
tries to say. I mean,
I know
PK's not a
better.
good singer, and he
I
sings
know
on
better.
every show.
See, he thinks he's good at everything. See, the thing is, he knows he's so bad he's good.
Yeah.
Hit it, yeah! Come on, give us one. PK's not around to sing.
So the Cowboys.
He sings a Springsteen song and he dies at the end. You can literally hear his soul leave his body.
Ironically, the Giants.
I was made for loving you, baby. You were made for loving me. And I can't get enough of you, baby. Can you get enough of me?
That's long.
Point taken.
It's long.
Let's get physical.
Okay, stop, Yak.
Physical.
You were going to make a point about the NFL. Please do.
The Giants have historically had very good ownership, and they've been atrocious for a while now.
Yeah, they haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
2
And-
playoff games in 13 years.
But the Commanders
and
go
it's going to
from
be 2-14.
arguably the worst owner in sports to anybody, and
Well,
suddenly they're in
John
as good
made
a
the
shape as
point
they've ever been.
he's a mediocre owner in Philly. I mean, they just can't get to a conference final. But he's very good for Washington. Now, he is following a low bar, and, did he hire the right coach, and they draft the right quarterback, and all of a sudden you're on your way. If you can get coach, quarterback, GM, owner right, you're awfully close to a very good place. I don't know the places we can look and say, they've really got a good owner, GM, coach, and quarterback, but that team just doesn't win.
Can't figure it out.
That's
Yeah.
not something you say very often.
No, I mean, the Giants won that way when they had Eli, who was only a pretty good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback.
Well, they didn't sustain success, but their peaks were excellent.
Yeah.
Now, they would win a Super Bowl and then miss the playoffs. It wasn't Andy Reid in Philly in the NFC title game every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andy Reid's been to a lot of conference title games now. He had a run in Philly, which was awesome, and then he has a better run in KC.
I've enjoyed the narrative shift on Andy Reid. I've always been an Andy Reid fan. I don't know why I've always liked the Eagles. It's just kind of a team I liked growing up.
Because Andy's got a tie to BYU, and you grew up in Utah, and he represents the Beehive State.
Maybe I just was catching David James, and he was
nothing
giving
to
me
do with it.
updates, and he would mention Andy Reid, and I thought, okay, there's some name familiarity there. Advertising works.
Right.
And then I see him on TV, and I say, oh, I know who that coach is, so I like him.
And
Maybe,
you see, but when you watch the games, they win way more than they lose.
but I wasn't a 49ers fan. I wasn't a Steve Young fan, so I don't know. I didn't have BYU or Utah ties growing up at all, so I think I've always just liked Andy Reid, but he was a lovable loser, and that's not the case anymore. So I've enjoyed that. I've enjoyed that switch for him. Few people have changed their reputation in sports
As much as he has.
as positively as he has on what seemed like he was probably pretty close to the end of his rope. Pretty close to the end of his run.
Just can't win the big one.
Yeah.
And all
Get
of a
you
sudden,
close.
he's got 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And now he's top 5 in everything. Like playoff wins, Super Bowl wins, regular season wins. It doesn't matter. Super Bowl appearances, whatever. Last thing. Bradley Beal, 2 years, $11 million with the Clippers. Clip gonna clip. You like that decision?
I do like the decision. I like the addition of John Collins. He's better than
Okay,
Norman
that's
Powell.
2 different things.
No, I just like what the Clippers have done. You got to
Okay.
take a holistic approach. If you make moves in a vacuum, you turn into the Phoenix Suns. They had a really good team. They were up 2-0 in the finals in 2001. That was 49 months ago.
And look at him now.
Look at them now.
Wrecked it.
Because they made a lot of moves in a vacuum. They didn't look at how it was going to impact everything else. They thought, well, Kevin Durant's better than Mikal Bridges, so you go get Kevin Durant. But it's like, but is he better next to Devin Booker? Is he better next to Chris Paul? Is it better to have Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges and all your draft picks or Kevin Durant? But you make that in a vacuum. And then you say, well, I think Bradley Beal is better than Chris Paul, so I'm going to make that move in a vacuum. There's only one ball, and Bradley Beal needs it, and Kevin Durant needs it, and Devin Booker needs it. Okay, so where are you going? But you now look at what the Clippers have done, and yeah, you lose Norman Powell, you trade him for John Collins, which maybe Norman Powell's a better player than John Collins. But if you're getting John Collins and Bradley Beal, a la you're not making moves in a vacuum, you're making moves with future moves in mind already, and you're tampering with other teams' players, knowing they will take a buyout because you will make them whole nearly on your contract, you can get away with that stuff. So that was a good move.
So Beal's
And-
going to make winning plays, and they're going to win the playoff series that elude them.
Well, it's going to depend on Kawhi. And Kawhi's only good for about 30 games. But when he's good for those 30 games, he's as good as anybody in the NBA still.
DJ and PK, your feedback next with Ben Anderson sitting in right here on The Zone.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
When Big Friday, it's a free tickets Friday, and tomorrow we're going to be giving away tickets to Dirk Bentley's Broken Branches Tour, coming to the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on July 31st. Get tickets now at livenation.com or listen to The Zone all day Friday for your chance to win. All right, time for your feedback, everything you had to say about today's show. And we're getting a lot of responses to the question, what's your favorite sports team, story, event? What keeps you coming back for more? Off the story that PK told about how he went to John Colosimo's Future and John's son, very excited to see PK, listen to your show all the time, going to school with Dad. Dad's hard of hearing. He had the radio cranked. When I got out of the car and was walking in the doors, I could still hear it. And PK was flattered, a little awkward. It's kind of like, oh, it shouldn't be about me. It should be about you.
Yeah.
You just lost your dad. But hey, if this makes you happy, okay, you know. And the kid was clearly pumped up. And so, flash forward the next day, he's at the gym, and the guy, hey, are you PK? Yeah. I stopped listening to your show. Cut him off at the knees. Oh, the highs and lows in about 12 hours. Awesome. Spectacular. But that guy's a Ute fan. So, of course, he stopped listening. I stopped listening. But what eventually keeps you coming back for more? And G-Man says, well, I'm a slow learner. I love misery and pain. Aren't we all? What's the worst team you rooted for that kept you coming back even though, you know, I mean, I grew up in San Diego. I'm a Padres fan. Even the Chargers had more success than the Padres.
I root for one team, and it's the Chicago White Sox. Yeah, they won 40 games last year. They had the worst season in history.
You did win a World Series, though.
My first year rooting for the team. Honestly,
that's when you got on the
I
bandwagon?
bought the hat before the season started.
Total fool's gold.
Total fool's gold. I thought this team's easy to root for. They are not. They've never made in their history the playoffs in back-to-back seasons.
That's terrible.
They've been around for 130 years. They've never made the playoffs in back-to-back years.
Yep.
How is that possible?
They just did. 2020 and
Yeah,
2021.
that was their first time.
Okay.
It was the
and
first
it was
time
a
they'd
60-game
never done
season.
it.
Does that really count? They
Correct.
were 35 and 25. All right, if you want to dismiss that, I get that.
But they've never made the playoffs, and they lost to the A's, I think, in the play-in
Okay, but
game.
I'll give them a pass here because they made the playoffs in 93, and then in 94 they canceled the playoffs, and they were 21 games over
They
500.
had Frank Thomas. And
They
et
could have
cetera.
done it then.
Sure.
But that's like the Expos. Hey, we could have won the World Series. We're really good. And then they canceled it,
Yeah.
and that was our year.
Ken
and,
Griffey might have
and
had
now
the
it's
home run
the
record.
Washington Nationals.
Right? Didn't Griffey have like 45 home runs?
Yeah, and Tony Gwynn might have hit 400 because he was at 394.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't have. But he could have.
But it could have.
He could have. It could have happened, man.
Yeah.
So they won the World Series in 1917, again in 2005. You decided to root for them, and now they've sucked for 20 years.
Bought the hat in the spring
You
of
bought
05.
into one fool's gold season in 108 years. Gotcha!
But it is
Set the hook.
It is the 20-year anniversary, and they're doing a big documentary. It's been fun to watch.
See? Releases the dopamine
It does.
in the
It
brain.
comes right back. It comes right back. The YouTube video comes out every Thursday, so I'm overdue. I've got to watch the final one.
We've had a lot of dopamine references because U-State Iceman said there's too many moments to list, so I'll just leave this. David James' question taps into the emotional pull of sports, a phenomenon supported by a 2021 study in the Journal of Sports Sciences showing fans experience dopamine releases similar to personal achievements when supporting their teams. Probably the smartest tweet we've had sent to the show.
In 20-plus
It
years.
usually is a series of GIFs and Utes and or Cougars suck. It's only an and if it's an Aggie fan who sends it in. Then it's Utes and Cougars suck. Cougar on the Beach says, what keeps me coming back? Harleen is wide open.
Yeah.
Agor, the difference. Demon. What do you think Agor is going to be as a pro? You got any comps for him? I haven't heard you do comps for Agor Demon.
He's also already changed his pronunciation of his last name.
Yeah.
What is it now?
Dioman.
Yegor Dioman.
There's no O in there.
Well, that.
All right, I'll roll with it. Dioman.
I don't have a lot of comps for him.
Okay. He's a unicorn. Excellent.
Unicorns usually aren't good.
Because they don't really exist.
Yeah. I actually think he's going to be best later in his career off the ball. A la Nick Batum, current Jazz man, Kyle Anderson, maybe little Joe Ingles.
Why do you want to take the ball away from him?
Because I don't think he's very good at the ball in his hands.
Okay.
I think he's a good passer,
Right. So you have to have the ball in your hands to do that. You know that, right?
but you can be a connective passer. I can pass you the ball, and then you can
so you
pass
don't want
off
him
of that.
You don't want him running pick and rolls.
Don't want him to be my
If he
primary
doesn't shoot
guy.
the three off the dribble, they're going to go under on the pick and roll, and it's going to jam up the offense.
Joe Ingles, and look, Joe Ingles became a 40% three-point shooter. That's going to still be the big key for Yegor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he's going to get there. But if he does, everything opens up for him. But he's not getting anywhere off the dribble by himself. Same with Joe Ingles. Well, Joe Ingles was never the Jazz's starting point guard for a reason. Joe was great at pick and roll, elite shooter, might have had the highest IQ on the team, might have been the most creative passer on the team.
But use him as a backup point and have him excel at a specific play running the pick and roll with Rudy.
And honestly,
His talent, that's the whole thing you were just talking about with the Clipper roster and connective decisions. You know, Joe had talents and Rudy had talents, and together it was definitely, you know, what is the cliche that I always butcher? The whole is more than the sum of the parts.
yeah. And that might be the issue for Yegor, especially in Brooklyn, is not having the other guy who complements what he does.
Yeah.
Unless he really bonds with Nick Claxton, and I don't expect that.
DJ PK, Ben Anderson sitting in. Ben and Jake are next, right here on The Zone. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, DJ.